Hey guys, welcome to Jen's Lemonade Life. I'm just going to start this from the beginning. It is day 4 of my journey here in New Zealand. If you haven't watched my vlog about actually getting here, flying on standby, then check that out. But I'm going to kind of backtrack. I haven't been very good at vlogging, and part of it is because I'm just enjoying life and not all things can be captured on camera, and also because I've been really lazy, like just enjoying sleeping in, doing thing with my friend's family, and not all of that is really too exciting to watch. So I'll catch you up with some of the pictures of what I have been enjoying and doing. After I got cleaned up and just deposited my stuff at home, we went to a local park and went on what my friend Angie called a bushwalk. I'd call it a nature walk, I guess, here in the US, but just gorgeous seeing the different foliage and just nature, all the palm trees and different kinds of trees I didn't even expect to see. So that was really neat, and we had a fun time. Good to help me get over the jet lag. And I hope you enjoy seeing just a snippet of the beautiful, beautiful greenery that surrounds them. Really cool also, I was fascinated by how many different kinds of lichen or symbiotic plant life there was out there. Later that evening, we finished cutting my hair back in the States. I cut off several inches to donate. Here's the finished product. I have a video if you're interested in that. My favorite part that we have not been able to even get good pictures or video of was when we went glowworm hunting. So we went back to the park that we were at initially for our little bushwalk and took a torch or a flashlight and went searching in the dark. We were both pretty scared to begin with, but we found them. We found little glowing tiny bugs all over in the foliage, but unfortunately, at least not our level of camera ship, I don't think that's a word, but you know what I'm saying, photography skills and equipment, it really couldn't be captured. So it's a real shame, but it's one of those things where you just look up at the sky and these exotic trees in the dark and this unearthly glowing, and you just think it's a beautiful world. This is literally the best picture that we were able to get with like 4 cameras. Those 4 little dots. Kind of a really cool exposure on Angie's camera was this, where they're a little blurred, but that's the color of blue that they were. They were little blue tiny lights. I really wish I could share it. When we were going back, we saw these rabbits, which apparently rabbits are not native. It's kind of weird to me to not have like squirrels, but also we felt more protected because they don't have snakes, they don't have wolves or bears or lions or anything that I might be afraid of in the wilderness in the US. Actually, earlier the same day, we went to the museum at Auckland. You'll have to forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of it there, but they also had out this huge display because it was basically what in the US we call Veterans Day. It's horrible, I've been back for a little while so I forgot the exact name, but we got to tour it. There are so many amazing things. There are a lot of Maori things to learn about their culture, or I should say Maori. Also other kind of Pacific Islander cultures are there. There was also some cool geological displays, such as this thing where you go into this fake room and they have this fake scenery and news report.
The city's volcanic field is coming to life. Ironically, it's an absolutely stunning evening here in Auckland, the kind where everyone would usually be heading out to the beaches.
Despite instructions from civil defence authorities, many people from outside the evacuation zone joined the exodus, increasing congestion.
Moments ago, this cloud of steam has risen up out of the water between Mission Bay and North Head. Just felt a short, sharp...
The room even included some shaking with the explosions, and it just brings to light how very real it can be that they live near volcanoes. There was also some things from history around the world and a lot of natural history, things that are extinct, things that are endangered. I found the bird display pretty darn cool because it talks about how a lot of birds in New Zealand are flightless because, again, they don't have those natural predators. They don't have the wolves. They don't have the bears and the tigers and the things that would eat them, so they don't have to fly away so much. But that does also make kiwis endangered because they don't fly. We'll talk about that probably on another vlog when I got to see kiwis in real life. Next up, get to see a lot about history, and I've seen the wars from mostly a European perspective. When I lived in Poland, I got to see Auschwitz and Birkenau and Jewish ghetto and that kind of thing. And honestly, I've never been to any sort of museum about it in the US. Just hasn't been near me. But in New Zealand, it was pretty touching to see the service that they did. Really the ultimate sacrifice that we should be so grateful for. Moving on to the last part of the museum here. I do not want to butcher the names, but this is from Wikipedia here. I believe it's a marae, like a village, and the Wharenui, that's horrible, I'm sorry. But basically the kind of big buildings that they would have for gatherings. We removed our shoes and it was cool to be able to see inside. Really cool is that how they have the shells, the natural shells that are indigenous to New Zealand and how they incorporate that. And there's so much symbolism within these buildings. Like it stands for the body, the way the arms are and the legs and the ribs and just different cool things like that. I am not doing a great job at explaining it, but it's a beautiful history. And to this day, there are, I don't want to call it a hut, that's not very respectful, but like houses, big buildings like this that they have all around New Zealand for native New Zealanders to come and have events. So that was the basic of museum. There was so much. Museums are great, especially when they have nice local stuff. There's just a pretty water feature outside. And then we went and we got some sausage with potatoes, some chips, and a feijoa. I'm already forgetting how to say anything. A shake. It's a fruit that they have there. The kids picked me some alströmeriums, which are my favorite flowers. They just grow there in the gardens. And these are some pictures that I took the next day. The next day I just chilled at home and then walked to a shopping center and did a good amount of just getting some basics and also souvenirs. And it's just lovely seeing just things that are so unfamiliar to me, being in Idaho where right now it is freezing. And there it's just always so lovely temperate and beautiful tropical, or I guess subtropical flowers all around me. It has been pretty fun because of the observations, just small things like the way that traffic signals and crosswalks beep and the way that lines are on the road. Of course, this is my first time on an island. This is my first time where people drive on the left side of the road. But things like concrete being used for light and electricity poles. I saw some of the fastest moving ants that I've ever seen in my life. Just crazy little things that you wouldn't know were different because they're part of your everyday life when you actually live in the country. Of course, the toilets are different, but I kind of expected that. And after living in Poland, you know, they have different toilets too, though I will say that their toilets are even different than the Polish toilets. I don't know why we have to have our own toilets, but whatever. Anyway, it's been really fun to observe. I hope I make a good long list of all the things that are different, just fun observations. Some other observations that I jotted down: in their grass, they just let flowers grow. Where we kill our dandelions on the side of the road, instead of painting a curb that you can't park there, they've got these dashes. Instead of saying yield, they have signs that say give way. Things like they cut off the top of their pineapples that they sell at the store. Or here you have the electricity, the power lines, and they're held up by cement instead of wood. Just gorgeous trees, Also at the store I noticed that their beef is super red, kind of interesting. And there's moss growing everywhere just from the right temperature and moisture. Also at the store I noticed paper bags for potatoes. I thought that was interesting. Just little things like that you know you don't think of as a native, or that you have to turn on a power outlet with a switch before you can get any electricity out of it. And of course, as you can see here, that we are driving on the left side of the road. I did not do any driving. Well, I could have. I was just a little nervous. I get nervous about driving, period, in other people's cars, and I did not want to do it on the other side of the road. There was Diwali while I was there, which is an Indian festival of lights, and it was really cool to see that cultural side, because I've never lived in an area with a lot of Indians, and just really cool. They had their celebration, and you could see a lot of lights and color everywhere around for that first week that I was in town. Today, I really am barely getting started. It's like a little after 1:30 in the afternoon because I was doing some laundry and being lazy. So I'm just getting my day started. I'm at the train depot and gonna go into town, a little solo adventure. It is starting to rain, so we'll see how long I stay, how much stamina I have, but take you guys along and have some fun in the big old city of Auckland, New Zealand. On my fourth day when I went into town, it's kind of fun. I call them trams because in Poland we call them tramways, that light rail, or I guess train. I don't know the difference in definition, but anyway, it was fun to go on that trip, just riding into town and see the difference in architecture, the big buildings, see the crazy fashion. I did a lot of souvenir shopping, and just to see that contrast too, because you have like Dior and Prada and all these fancy places, and just go for a walk down the street. I had packed a lunch and I was a little naughty feeding these little birds, I think sparrows, right? And that one just plucked it right out of my fingers, and that was another one. Pretty colored head there. They just have a lot of birds. Of course, I'm not a huge bird watcher, so I wouldn't know the difference in them all for the most part. But of course, they've got their pigeons too. Can't go without the pigeons. And they've got their native shells there. I want to say that's Paua. That's horrible pronunciation. I'm sorry, Kiwis. But they're gorgeous. I did find some on the beach. I'll show you later. But souvenirs, you will never be lacking. I got a ton. I didn't get a ton of like the health and beauty stuff, especially because of, you know, the liquids and trying to do carry on. But they've got tons of sheep there, so they've got lanolin products. They've got natural springs, so they've got the mud. They've got more exotic things like bee venom and fun stuff like that. But you're not going to go without some of the native stuff if you just go looking a little bit. I got some postcards to send to my nieces and nephews back home. Just fun little pictures and facts. And then I did go and enjoy the harbor nearby. It was really gloomy and rainy, but I got to enjoy some local fish and crab as well. My first time having soft shell crab, and I couldn't even tell you what fish I had on my journey at all because I don't really keep track of types, but it was fun. I mean, when you're on an island, you gotta have some fish. After I was tired and significantly more poor and weighed down with souvenirs, I made my way back to southern Auckland where I was staying and just enjoyed some relaxing. So this is the first 4 days. We did a museum, a nature walk, a glowworm hunt, and the big city with the harbor. So got tons more fun coming up, and make sure to stay tuned. All right, well, that was the first part of this trip. On to more adventures. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you see when the others come out, and have a wonderful day.